Hey y'all, this is Tia from Nail Dip Studio, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to pinch your dip nails without using any tools. Also, the dip nail products featured in today's video are from my dip line, Nail Dip Studio. So if you're interested in getting a dip kit or a dip box or just buying, some powder to expand your own collection, head over to naildipstudio.com and check me out. So let's jump into the video. So off camera, I went ahead and did a dry manicure. That is my preference. I am a retired nail tech, and so I prefer doing a dry manicure before I do my dip overlays. It lasts longer, and I also find that the application goes on smoother, which allows me to prolong the longevity of my application. So what I like to do as like the first step is really to take a cotton swab and wipe off my nails with a little alcohol. 70% will do, but I like to wipe my nails off. That allows me to, one, remove any dust, any leftover debris from like the buffing and the fouling that I just did, but it also allows me to remove the natural shine, and that takes away the oils, which starts the dehydration process, which will allow you to have a good adhesiveness, right? So that your products can adhere properly. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. So right there, I'm using, that was Blue Disco. This is Oh Boy. And I'm also going to be featuring the clear shade, the clear coat. And you need this because the two products that I'm using today, those products have shimmer and glitter in them. And so it's important that I encapsulate those shades, because without doing so, I would have too much texture, and you're not going to be able to buff out that texture that's naturally there. So you have to basically encapsulate it with the clear in order for that to work. So now I'm going to move on to step one. Step one is the prime. And what I'm going to use, the primer, I like to apply at least 2 coats of the primer, and I take that primer all the way down from the cuticle area all the way down to the free edge, and I make sure that I get that product in and around the side walls and everything, because when you are applying your overlay, if you do not apply enough primer to actually assist you in the sort of prep stage, you're not going to have a good application, and you're going to have lifting. Here's a tip too. Right there, I'm just grabbing another little swab, another little cotton pad. But what you want to do is take some acetone before you even apply your first layer of your base coat, which is step 2, and wipe off the top part of that bottle. I'm wiping that off because, number one, I want to make sure that I'm taking off any residual product that may be there from the last application, and then 2, I'm also trying to prevent any future issues with the brush sticking to the bottle. So if you find that you're in that sort of position where your brush is starting to stick to the bottle, try wiping it off with acetone before and after your applications and see if that actually helps. Now I'm going to start with my clear coat, and this is the half dip that I always begin my applications with. And I like to do a half dip to do 2 things. One, it builds the apex and it starts to create the curve, but then 2, it gives me the extra strength that I need. Now right here, I tapped off the extra powder and I grabbed my using my pointer finger and my thumb, I am pinching that nail, and I'm actually blowing slightly on the top part of that nail to speed up the curing process. Once I've done that and I've started that pinching process, I'm going to dust off any residual product. Now you can see that I'm starting to create that curve, that C curve, that smile line at the sort of free edge of my nail. So now I'm going to proceed to my second layer of dip, and this is like my second foundational layer. Okay, so this is the layer that I'm going to sort of put underneath the glitter shade, because I'm going to apply blue disco on top of this. And again, tapping off, and before I grab the brush, I am pinching. Pinch, over direct that shape. Once you have a good handle on that, apply a little bit of, if you have a fan, put your finger in front of the fan. If you don't, just blow slightly on your finger, and you're going to start to create that tapered look. If you're going for more of a coffin shape, I would say you're going to have to play around with the amount of time that you hold your pinch, but I would say no longer than about maybe 15 seconds, okay? No longer than 15 seconds. So I'm going to move on now to my full application dip, which would be with blue disco. And this is a shimmer, a glitter, and it has a translucent, or I'm sorry, a transparent pigment to it. So it's not made with like a white base, it has a clear base to it. And so that's why I needed to make sure that I had my foundational layers applied first, to help create and manipulate the shape that I would need, because the glitter on its own, because that's a heavier product, it's not, you're not going to be able to manipulate that too much. Now you can manipulate your clear, but not necessarily the glitter, okay? But as you can see, I'm starting to form the curve. You definitely see that C curve at the free edge, which basically just looks, if you're looking dead onto my nail, it looks as if I have a, almost like a tip on my nail. You know how like when you put your, that fake tip on your nail, you automatically get that C curve because it's already shaped and designed in that manner. Well, this is sort of giving you that sort of fake tip look using your natural nails. Okay, now I'm going in with my second layer of powder, and this is the second layer that will be with the glitter shade. Okay, going in at an angle, putting that down, letting that sit there for a few seconds, tapping off the extra powder. And I like to leave what's on top that doesn't come off on for a few seconds, just to make sure that it has time to adhere. Then I brush off and dust off any residual powder. And yeah, now that I've done that, I'm also going to move into the clear. I have to encapsulate this. So if you have a glitter shade and you do not have a clear powder coat, if your company or the product that you're using doesn't come with one, I would strongly suggest you not use that glitter, because, or use someone else's clear coat so that you can actually encapsulate that glitter shade, because without creating a smooth transition, you're going to be fouling texture, and it's going to be very difficult to do, and it's just not going to give you the look that you want. Here I dip my nail fully into the clear coat. I did not flood my cuticle area, nor did I flood my side walls, and basically that's just applying additional powder or liquid, and that liquid sort of running down the sides and getting onto those areas where you will have to then basically foul that stuff off, because you've actually just applied too much product. Okay, so here I'm going to start my pinky finger, and I'm going to use the half dip as my foundation. Dip that into the clear, tap off the extra, immediately pinch. Slightly blow, hold that pinch for a few seconds, I would say maybe 10, right? And as you can see, boom, you see that tapered, that coffin shape, it's already there. It's starting to shape up really nicely. So again, I'm moving on to my middle finger, same process, applying a half, applying the base coat halfway up on my nail, tapping off the extra. Before I dust off anything, I'm going to pinch, slightly blow. I'm going to hold that for about 10 seconds, maybe 15. And once I like that shape, I'm going to release it and dust off the extra powder back into the container. Okay. And so this is what you want. This is what you should see. Depending on how much you over direct your nail, that is going to create the curvature. So if you over direct your nail, if you have an extreme over direction, then you're going to get more of like that ballerina shape. If you have a slight over direction, you will get a coffin shape. If you have a lighter over direction, then you're going to get more of a straight square look, but it still will have a curve at the free edge. Again, you're seeing the coffin shape, you're seeing that taperedness happen, and we don't have any tools. And I thought that this was really, really important to show, especially for those of us who are we're at home, we're in the house, we like a certain look to our nails, but the nail salons, in some cases, the risk just doesn't outweigh our health. So, yeah, I thought this would be really a good video to bring to you. So here I'm doing my thumb. I'm over directing my thumb, okay? Still not the shape that I want. While it's still semi-wet, I'm going to go back, pinch it again. And you can do that. Pinch it until you get the shape that you want before you move on to your next application. Because again, this is a layered process. This is multiple steps. You're going to have, I normally do, about 2 to 3 pinches before I stop, because usually by the second or third pinch, I have my desired shape. I'm just trying to make sure that it's set. Okay, so that if you apply a 4th layer or even a 5th layer, that those layers will basically adhere to the layers that you've already over directed previously. Okay, so now I'm going to move on with my full dip using Oh Boy. Make sure you always brush and cap your free edge. I'm going to dip my nail in. I'm going to tap off any additional powder, and I am going to pinch my nail. Okay, and I am pinching right there, I would say almost midpoint, but really focusing on the free edge and bringing that nail inward so that I can create that coffin, that tapered, that tailored look. That is what I'm doing. Moving on to my middle finger, same process as the last finger. Again, I'm going to apply my product to my base coat to my entire nail, not flooding the side walls, not flooding the cuticle area, making sure that I cap my free edge, dipping my finger into my powder at an angle, tapping off the excess powder, and then immediately pinching it before we move on to dust anything off. And I'm blowing simply on my nail just to help the curing process. But you want to do that. If you have a fan, put your finger in front of the fan, if you have that on your nail station. But if not, then you can actually just blow on it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to repeat these same steps and I will be back. So I wanted to point out we're moving on to our second full color dip, and I usually try to do 2 to 3 full color dips, but this is really the time where you want to dust off any residual product and look at your nails and ask yourself, what is my preference? Do I prefer a richer color? Um, if you prefer something that's a little richer, I would say definitely go in with maybe 2 full color dips. See how you like that. If it's still not the color that you want, go in for a third dip, add a third layer. This is a layered process. In most cases, for me, I find that 4 to 5 layers really work nicely on my hands without it just looking too thick. I never liked a thick overlay. I always, even when I was doing nails professionally, I always did overlays that looked extremely natural. It gave you the strength of the acrylic, but the look of gel. I don't like those like thick chiclet looking nails. I don't find them flattering. But if that, some people have a preference for those types of nails, and that's just not my preference. So I definitely would suggest that you sort of play around with your dip products, if you're using dip products, and figure out what your preference is. Everyone has a different preference. I normally like to do 2 full color dips before I encapsulate it with my clear. That just gives me the color that I like. So that's something that I do. Now, right here, I'm just tapping off the extra powder. I love to tap off the powder. I find that it is easier. And then I go in with my dust brush and I dust off everything. Because Oh Boy has some shimmer to it, I find that it is important to make sure that I encapsulate it as well with the clear. Okay, now right here I'm showing you what that free edge curve looks like, and your nail has a side profile. So the side profile is where you build your apex, right? But when you're looking at your nails spot on, dead on, I noticed that my nails were somewhat flat and they didn't have the curve that I wanted. So I said, okay, I can't find my dang pincher, and I needed to have that, or at least I thought I did. And then I said, well, maybe I will go in and just use my finger and see how that works. So it actually paid off. So right here, I am adding a third layer of product. I believe this is my second or third layer. Not sure. I think it might be my third layer of product, but I'm adding that layer. And for me, again, it's really about preference and making sure that I am getting the color that I want. I'm very cautious not to blood my cuticle area or the side walls, but I think that it's important that you always cap your free edge. I will cap my free edge with almost every layer, because I want to make sure that that product is down there, because your free edge is really the most vulnerable part of your nail, because that is the area that you are pointing with, you're tapping with, you're grabbing things with, you're picking up coins. That area, you use that free edge so much so that just by normal activity, you will remove layers. And if you're not capping that free edge with enough layers to support your daily activities, you're going to go into this sort of lifting phase where your nails lift probably within like 3 to 4 days. You're noticing lifting. Once that lifting has occurred, then the nail will start to snag and get caught up on various items, Once that happens, then you start to see tears in your nails, and then you have to actually take off the nail. Now you have to start all over, which then causes you to either do one of two things: file your nails down to accommodate the loss of the nail that's on the other hand or the same hand, or you have to add a tip to offset the shortness that was caused by the lifting. So, in an effort to avoid any of those types of mistakes, I always add and cap a thin layer of product to the free edge. It just helps, I find, prolong the longevity of your overlay. Okay. So now I'm moving into the encapsulation piece, or the clear coat, and I'm applying that clear coat to all of my fingers. I'm going to do that um, for the rest of my fingers. And again, I like to apply a thin layer, capping off the free edge. I will dip my finger into the powder, the clear, and then I like to let my clear sit on my nails for a few seconds, because I find that sometimes when you don't allow your powder to sit, it doesn't always adhere. And you want to make sure that everything is sort of melting. You want that clear coat to really, like if you were wearing a lace front, or a closure, you want your closure to melt into your scalp. Well, you same concept would be true with the clear. You want the clear powder to like melt into the product, into your sort of dip layers. You want that clear to melt into that. And so I find when I let it sit on the top of my nails for a few seconds, nothing crazy, but just a couple of. So I find that when I let that powder sit on my nails for a few seconds, it allows the clear to really melt into my nails, but it also allows me to really maximize the amount of product that is left there, because you're basically applying the clear to act as a barrier between your the applications underneath your nails, as well as the clear is sort of helping you to shape and mold your nail without manipulating or changing the texture of the crystals or glitter or shimmer you may have underneath. I also find that in some cases the clear will also help to maintain the color. So if you're having issues with your color changing on you, you might want to use a clear powder. Now, as I showed in the earlier video, I take just a cotton pad and some acetone, and I always wipe off the top of my base bottle. And again, you're doing that to remove any residual product that may be there from this application, and you're preventing anything that may have been on your brush from crystallizing and actually creating a seal, which will cause your the brush insert to stick to the bottle. So if you're having issues with that, try this method. Now I've moved on to step number 3, and I'm actually applying the bond. And I like to apply a lot of bond to my nails because you have several layers. And because I want to make sure that that bond, that activator is actually penetrating the layers, I like to put a lot on. Nothing too crazy. I would say at least um, two coats is normally what I like to go for. Now, once I have applied the bond, now we're going to move into the shaping and forming and buffing phase, okay? Now, when I deal with glitter and I am in the shaping and molding, forming phase, I will always use the 100 side because glitter has texture. And using the 180 side, which is a little softer, which is a lot softer than the 100, it's actually a lot softer. The 100 has more grit, which allows me to really sand, file, shape, and mold that nail. I will only use the 100 on the side walls and the free edge. When it comes to shaping around my cuticle area, I will still use the 180 because that is a delicate part of your skin attached to your finger. And sometimes I find that when you're using the 100 side, you can easily cut your nail. And you don't want to cut your cuticle, especially being that you have products on your nails, you haven't washed anything off, you're still dealing with dust and things of that nature. So I will use the 100 side of the nail file to shape my glitter shades, but then I will use the 180 side to smooth out and carve out my smile line in and around my cuticle area. Okay, so again, the pinching aspect, we pinched uh, during our foundational layers, which was the half dip. That half dip will raise and build your apex. So when you're looking at the side profile of your nail, you're seeing that curvature. That's where you want to have that half dip, okay? The pinching allowed me to create that coffin shape. If you want something a little bit more tailored, like a ballerina shape, then you want to really over direct your nails so that you can get that shape. Uh, Most commonly known as like the ballerina shape. You want to really over direct it if possible. The next thing that I would say that you will want to do. Now, what you see me doing here is really just stabilizing my finger. And so what I'm doing is I'm using my ring finger to lock in my pinky, using my thumb as the platform, using my middle finger as the stabilizer to sort of help me secure that nail so that I can have more control as I'm starting my shaping phase on that particular finger. So I want to show you, I always try to give you a couple of options because different people have different preferences, and everyone may not be able to hold their nail this way or that way. So I try to give you a couple of different options of holding your nail. You can hold it like that, like I just demonstrated, or you can actually use the table to hold your nail. Right there, I'm showing you that side profile. I'm showing you the side walls and the free edge and the cuticle area, right? How that shaping piece looks. You go around using the 180, and you don't want to apply a lot of pressure. That's the other thing. Like, this is not like a race to see if I can do my nails in 10 minutes, because I can't. It is more about taking your time and getting your desired shape and making sure that your nail looks, because you want that professional look. So take your time. Looking at my free edge, I've created that curve. I created that pinch. I love, by the way, the finished product of my nails. I think that this is definitely something that I will incorporate into my nail application going forward on a weekly basis. But this is something that if you do not have any tools, let's just say you're purchasing a dip kit from me, you get everything that you've seen in this video, and you're home like, hey, I'm noticing that my nails are a little wider. I want something a little bit more tapered. I want to get that sort of coffin look, but I don't really know how to do that. You have the tools that you need. Use your use your thumb and your pointy finger to pinch. Use those two fingers to pinch your nails and rotate your hand. Use the opposite hand for the opposite hand. And that will definitely create that and start the forming aspect of creating a tapered look. And in my opinion, it also helps to build up your apex without having to add additional layers. Okay. Now, if you're new to my channel, I always prefer to use the 180 side of my nail file to shape around the cuticle area, to shape around the side walls. What that allows me to do is to maintain the consistency of the layers, the integrity of the layers that I've already applied. So you want that barrier without removing the product. So the 180 allows me to shape, form, mold without disturbing the product that I just applied. And oftentimes when you use a harsher, more abrasive nail file, you're going to remove tons and tons and tons of product, and you don't want to do that because you're going to create lifting. Now right here, I'm just cleaning up my free edge. I believe in one of my other videos, I showed you how to clean up the free edge using your nail file. So if you're using your nail file, you just want to take your 180 side and just go back and forth, almost in a rocking motion. In this particular clip, I'm showing you how to use your e-file, one of the bits, to actually just clean that up. And now you see what that looks like. You see that curve is, that C curve is there. That curve is in and on those nails. And I am, you know how you get size when you do something, you're like, oh shucks, I did it. That's what I'm feeling here. So once you've completed the filing process and you're now ready to move into your buffing phase, I like to buff my nails. I think that if you're having issues with seeing the lines through your top coat, that's because you have not buffed everything out. When you buff your nails, your nails should really be smooth to the touch. You should not feel any texture. You should not feel any lines. You should feel nothing but smoothness. And I would say buff every nail, even if you have to. And if, let me slow this down. If I was someone doing my nails at home that, you know, I'm doing my nails for the first time, I would say buff each nail for at least 30 seconds. And the reason I say that is because you have to, and when I say 30, I mean also like 30 seconds, but rotating your nail underneath the buffer. You want to make sure you're doing that, okay? Because that's going to smooth out any imperfections that you may have, and it's going to make your top coat look amazing. Now, remember I said that I added another layer of bond, the bonding step number 3. This is me actually adding that additional layer. And again, I do that because we just went through the filing process. We just shaped our nails. We definitely took off at least 1.5 layers of that product by just shaping, filing, molding, sort of carving out the shape that we like. So this is a really good opportunity to apply some additional bond to seep down and get down to those other layers that may not have received any of that bond when we applied it, 2 minutes ago. Okay, so now we're going to go wash our hands. Make sure you wash your hands with soap, water. If you have a manicure brush, use that to really brush off and wash off any of that bond. And the reason why I'm saying to you that it is imperative, and I mean imperative, that you wash that bond off is because if you have any residual product of that bond on your nails and you apply that top coat, the top coat brush bristles will start to crystallize and harden. Okay? And you don't want that. So as an additional step, after I wash my hands, I apply alcohol using a little cotton pad. Take a little alcohol and I wipe off my nails. Yes, I just washed my nails, but I am very much so aware that if you don't get that product off, your brush will harden. And if you're having an issue with your brush hardening, that is because your top coat brush hardening, that's because you still have some bond on there, and that activator is basically doing what it's supposed to do. It is crystallizing, hardening the top coat, and you will have to soak your, if that happens to you, you need to soak your brush top in either the brush cleanser that comes with your kit for at least 20 to 30 minutes, or you have to dip that brush into, I would say, acetone for about 20 or 30 minutes, okay? As I showed you, before, I always wipe off my the tops of my bottles just to make sure that they don't stick, and I don't want any extra product on there. So right now I'm applying a thin layer of step number 4, which is the top coat. Now I, as of late, have been applying 3 thin layers. I find that the 3 layers of the top coat with my product give me that gel look. It gives me that high shine, wet look that I like to have on my nails. Okay, I think in this clip I'm going to switch bottles because I think my top coat in this particular clip was running low, so I just went and grabbed another one. So I'm moving on to the next hand, and again I apply thin layers because you are still building. I prefer to use a thin layer of the top coat. I don't let my layers dry down too much. Like, I like to have them almost in like this sort of tacky stage before I apply the second layer. I let the second layer get tacky as well, then I apply my third layer. But that's only if you want that wet gel look. If you want more of a natural polish look, then you can stop at 2. But I definitely go for the dramatics of having that wet gel overlay look. So I go for 3 layers. And if you notice right there, I took some of that top coat and I brushed that on my free edge. And that's because, again, I'm still encapsulating. I'm still securing and creating that seal because I don't want my nails to lift. So if you haven't, make sure that you start to incorporate that step into your routine. Apply your top coat, brush your free edge. That creates that seal that will assist you in the prevention of lifting, so that your nails are not sort of separating from the product. Okay, and yeah, I'm going to apply one more layer. I definitely just want to thank everyone for their support, your comments, following me, subscribing to the channel, purchasing your dip kits and your dip boxes and everything. I really, really appreciate this. This is a dream come true, and I definitely just want to say thank you. So I'm going to let you finish watching the rest of this video. Again, I'm just applying one more layer of top coat, and yeah, we'll be done. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back with another video very soon, and until then, keep dipping. Thanks, guys. Bye.